You know, it's been said that the quickest way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Well, that surgeon got fired the very next day. Anyway, today we are going to celebrate STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and we want to give you a sneak peek of what's coming up in the Master Books Academy Anatomy series, where we are putting together labs to go through this anatomy course. We're dissecting a brain, a kidney, hearts, and a pig, all kinds of things. And so today we're going to look at just a little bit of a sample of the dissection of a heart on that lab day. Now, you're not going to get the whole picture because we're going to kind of speed this up for you. We just want to give you a taste of it so that you can see. But each week there will be a lab as well as another teaching that's going to describe some amazing spiritual aspects to whatever it is that we are talking about. A heart, as an example. Do you know that ours only weighs about 1 pound? But there is a blue whale, the largest animal in the world. Its heart is 1,000 pounds. Its aorta is so big that a small human can actually swim through the aorta. Incredible. Jeremiah 17:9 says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it?" You see, the heart of man is indeed inherently wicked, but the Bible also tells us that there is a change that takes place when we become believers in Jesus Christ. That Jesus comes to live inside of us and that He gives us a new heart. He takes out a heart of stone, He gives us a heart of flesh, and that His Spirit will live inside of us. Just like David had a heart after God, we too can have a heart that is changed by the Holy Spirit through Jesus Christ and faith in Him. Now, as we dissect this heart today, you're going to see a spiritual message more at the end as well, but I want you to take note of a few things when we dissect it. The heart we're going to be using is a sheep heart that we will dissect. And though you're not going to get to see everything, like I said, we want you to be able to take note of a few things while you watch some of that video. What you're going to see is that the blood is actually going to come in on the right side of the heart from the body. It only has to pump it to the other side ultimately to get to the lungs. But on the other side, your left side of your heart, that has to pump the blood all the way through the body back to the heart. And so that side, your left side of the heart, is going to require a much larger muscle. And so you will see, I have a heart here, and I'm going to try and show you. You'll see it as it gets dissected. Can you see this darker area? That is actually the left side of your heart, the side wall of it. I'm going to turn it around and we're going to show you the left side of the heart. Can you see how small of a kind of a darker area? Let's see if I can get it there for you. That is, it's just maybe a 1/4 inch thick. That's it. Whereas on the right side, you have 3/4 of an inch to an inch thick. Now, you're going to see these other parts later, so I'm not going to get into that too much right now. But I hope that you enjoy seeing just a little taste of what your kids are going to be learning. Again, only a part of it, but I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you on the back end of it maybe. Now, as blood comes into the heart, there are two places, because the heart doesn't just sit nice and straight up and down facing forward. It's actually more at an angle and leaning back in your chest cavity. Now, remember, the lungs wrap around the heart, and then underneath this you also have a diaphragm. It's covered with the pericardial sac as well that we've talked about in other lessons, where it's like a balloon, or even at this glove, if you'd put oil in there in between, it would rub nicely together, and that way, with all of this pumping and movement going on, it isn't going to get irritated and overheated and all of that kind of stuff. So God has covered almost all of our organs with that kind of sac to protect it. You will not see that on our dissected one. So as this is sitting in the heart, you're going to notice that there is a bottom and a top area for this blood to enter into the heart. This bottom one is actually coming from underneath the diaphragm. so that, from your lower body, the trunk of your body, all that blood is coming in from the bottom, and then the blood from the top is coming in through the top area here. And so what this is called is our inferior and superior vena cava. And so that's where the blood is entering from the body right here. And as we dissect, we're going to just follow the path that the blood takes. So we're going to kind of run through it this way first. So it comes in through the inferior or superior vena cava into what is called the atrium. Now, an atrium is just pretty much like in our homes, sometimes we have an atrium. It's just like a waiting room before you enter. And that's all that is. It's like a waiting room to hold the blood. So you can kind of see it underneath what we here call auricles. And it looks like a little ear, but this model allows you to look inside that. So it comes in through the vena cava here, bottom and top. There's the hole, and here would be a hole. And now it's in this waiting room, this atrium. Now, this is the right side of your heart here as well. This is your left side. You'll see that there's kind of a diagonal that kind of goes across. We'll look at that more when we dissect the heart. But you're going to see that the left side of your heart is bigger than the right side. Now, you may be saying, wait a minute, that's not left. This is because it would be in your body this way, and so it's backwards. But the right side, when the blood comes in through here, it enters into the atrium. From the atrium, it has to go through a little valve. And here it is. So we're going to just kind of go to the other door. You can see that valve. This here is called the tricuspid valve. You can see there's 1, 2, 3 different strands there. And that tricuspid valve will basically open and close to allow blood to go into it, but not to go back. That way, blood only flows in one direction. It can never flow backwards. So a great design to have these valves in there. And so once it goes through that valve, this tricuspid valve, it is now in what is called the right ventricle here. Now, from the right ventricle, it's going to then kind of do a U-turn and move on up to go through our pulmonary artery. And it's got to get through another valve. Now, this valve's a little different. You can kind of see they're very different. These have these long, stringy things. They're attached to what is called the chordae tendineae, and or I guess those are what the strings are called. They're attached to a pulmonary muscle. But it goes up then through this pulmonary artery, and it has to pass through this valve. This is called the pulmonic semilunar valve. And we'll look at that when we dissect the heart. It's going to be a little bit different than these valves are here. So it goes through that valve. So second valve, but a different kind. And it pumps up here through the pulmonary artery, and then it is going to exit out of the heart, and it's going to go to the lungs. Now, it's called pulmonary artery. When we talk about pulmonary, I think it's good for you to understand that pulmonary is just another word for basically the lungs. So it's come from the body through the superior and inferior vena cava. It's gone into the atrium, through your valve, into your ventricle, and now it's going out to your lungs. And so remember, as it's entering your body, it has been deoxygenated. The body has used up all the oxygen. So it now needs to go back to the lungs to get more oxygen. And so it goes out the pulmonary arteries, it's going to get oxygenated, and then it's going to come back in. And as it comes back in, that is called the pulmonary vein. Arteries go away from the body. If you think of A for artery, A for away. Artery moves away, the veins are moving in. And so as it moves back in, now this has been oxygenated blood. And so as that blood goes into your pulmonary vein, it's entering into another atrium, another waiting area right behind this left auricle. All right, and so it is the atrium inside here. Just like on the other side, after it enters the atrium, it's got to get into the left ventricle. To do so, it has to go through a valve. This valve is called the bicuspid. You can tell because it has 2 rather than 3 of those longer flaps. So it goes through that into your left ventricle. Once it's in the left ventricle, just like on the right, it does a U-turn, and now it's going to start going up another direction, but this time, rather than the pulmonary artery, it is going up back kind of underneath this into your aorta, into your the aortic branch here. It's going to go in, here's your aorta, and then it leaves the body out of your aorta. And here's a big part of it here. So they've got some branches up there, but the aorta is the largest blood vessel in your body, and that is what is sending all the blood out to the body. We're going to talk more about these things as we actually do a dissection of it, but that gives you kind of a quick rundown, and you want to become familiar with what is happening with these main pieces here too. Another interesting aspect is you can kind of see that right here, that is a very important part of the body as well. That is a little ligament, and it attaches the trunk to the pulmonary artery to the aorta. And when you are in the womb as a baby, normally this goes out to your lungs. Instead, when you're a baby, you don't need to be breathing air through your lungs because you're in an amniotic fluid. You don't need air. You're using your mother's air. And so as a result, when the blood goes up, this was squeezed off. Or bypassed, rather, I should say at this point. It was bypassed to go right into the aorta so that the blood was getting to the heart as it would go. And then over, just kind of towards the end, as you're getting ready to be born, over about a 3-week period, this little ligament slowly squeezes off, and that bypasses, that bypass that was sending the blood to the aorta is now closed off so that you can't get blood there anymore, and now it starts sending it to the lungs, preparing you to be born. And so this is a remnant of God's just providence to make things change from going in one world into the next. So what an amazing design that is in itself. And again, just preparing us to go to a different dimension, you might say. So beyond that, like I said, we'll cover a few other things. There is a main artery or main blood vessel that comes down here as well. We talk about coronary heart disease and things like that. Well, if you have a heart attack, what is a heart attack? A heart attack is when your muscles are dying. What causes them to die? Well, primarily not getting enough blood supply. And so when you get these blood vessels that are blocked up, then blood can't get there. So if you get that main artery going through and it's plugged up, then that is a heart attack waiting to happen, and they need to go in and fix that. Another thing that you might notice here just in the heart is its size. Clearly this is much bigger than what ours is. The one we're going to dissect would be very similar to the size of a human heart. And this, though, could get this big. As a matter of fact, some people may have a heart this big, but that's not a good thing. They probably will not live as long. But one of the reasons that you can have a larger heart is because your muscles have to work harder to get the blood to the body. Now, by working harder, it doesn't mean that it's pumping faster necessarily. It means it's having to use more energy to get the blood to pump through. And so if it has to work harder, just like you do when you're a weightlifter or whatever, you're going to build muscle, and then your heart gets really too big. So that's not a good thing to have too big of a heart. Another thing that you are going to notice, as we're going to see easily in the dissection, is the left and the right side have a very much contrasted wall of the heart. On your right side, the wall of the heart is only going to be maybe a 1/4 inch thick or so. And on the left side, It is actually going to be maybe up to about an inch thick. It is so huge. Why is that? Well, because the muscles need to be much larger on your left side because it is pumping it out through your aorta, which is going all the way through your body, all the way down to your toes. Whereas on your right side, that pump is really only pumping it a short distance to get to your heart. So it doesn't have to be very strong. So even though this is one heart, you have two pumps, your right side and your left side, and one is much bigger than the other. So with that said, I think that gives you a pretty good beginning as far as what we're going to be seeing. I'm going to set that aside, and we are going to pull our heart over here, put our gloves on. Try and get it, there we go. So it is now coming in through a pulmonary vein, and that blood is now oxygenated because it is returning from the lungs. It goes into this smoother area here, which is the atrium, the left atrium. It goes through now a bicuspid valve. You can see all the chordae tendineae there as well, into the left atrium down here. Again, your wall, and then it's going to do a U-turn, and it has to now go up out through your aortic vein out to your aorta. And you can see here that I have my probe going through, and the aorta is the largest one that you're going to see there. It's very easy to find that one. You can see the probe sticking out both sides. So in, out. Now before it can get through there, again, it went through the bicuspid valve, but now it's going to have to, as it goes through, meet another one of these semi-lunar valves, and maybe we'll be able to find it a little bit easier on this side here. So what I'll do is I'm going to leave that probe in there, and I'm going to cut up that aortic wall, and we'll see if we can find that valve. There it is. You can definitely see it a lot better on this one. Grab my other thing. So here you can see this little flap. That is your semi-lunar valve, your aortic semi-lunar valve. Again, there was one going into the pulmonary artery as well. Just a little harder to see that one, but you can see it's just a little flap of skin, it looks like. And what that does, again, is it opens up and it closes. Opens up and it closes. And so it's a lot easier to see on this side. So again, our chordae tendineae, all of these things here, they are attached to what are called papillary muscles. Again, our left ventricle, our left atrium is up on top. Again, the atrium is going to be smoother than what it is in your ventricle. And there also is another term for your bicuspid valve here. It's also called the mitral valve. So as it goes through there, just to kind of be aware of that. Now, just to remind you again, which blood vessels return blood to the heart? Well, that's your veins. And where does most of the nutrient exchange take place? That's going to be in your capillaries. So this heart is beating and beating and beating. You can even kind of tell sometimes by pushing down your left and your right. You can see how hard that wall is versus the other side. You might want to just kind of play around with that a little bit too. some things to note. Your heart is beating 60 to 100 times a minute. So let's just say that that average is about 80. So that means at 80 beats a minute, you take 80 times 60 for an hour, 60 minutes in an hour. That's 4,800 times this thing is beating and pumping blood out every single hour. You take that times 24 hours, that's 115,200 times this thing is beating in a day. And then, if you want to figure that out, if that's a day in 1 year, take that times 365, that's 42,048,000 times this heart beats in a year. So if you live to be 80 years old, that's 3,363,840,000 times that it is going to beat every lifetime. So what an incredible design God has made here. When we talk about the heart, I also, again, want you to understand that the heart is where really life is, because life is in the blood. And when we see in the very beginning of creation, I want you to kind of see where some of these things began, because everybody wants to know, where did life come from? Well, the Bible has given us the answers ever since, the beginning of time, but yet NASA and all these other people are trying to find out where that life came from. But look here in Genesis, right there at the very first verses, it says this in verse 1, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. And God said, let there be light. And God said, let there be a vault between the waters. And God said, and God said, and God said." What I want you to note of these verses is this. It says when God created. That word create is bara in Hebrew. And it means to make out of absolutely nothing. And so in the beginning, God created out of nothing all these different things. Now the sun and the moon hadn't been made yet. What is He creating there? Well, I believe at that point it's the laws of nature, it's the periodic table, it's all of these things that God is going to use to make the rest of the things. Because you're going to see that throughout the next few days of creation, nothing is created. Go look in your Bible, look for that word create again. It's not there until the fifth day of creation. In verse 21, "So God created the great creatures of the sea and every living thing with which the water teems." That word living thing, it's nephesh kaya. And what it means is that there was something that wasn't in existence until this day, because God had to create something out of nothing. He already had the periodic table. He already had the dirt that He could make the animals in their bodily form. But it didn't have anything living yet. And so here, when He creates again something new being brought into existence, is nephesh. Nephesh kaya, life. On day 6 in verse 26, "Then God said, let us make mankind in our image." That word make is asa in the Hebrew, not bara. "In our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created, bara, mankind in His own image. In the image of God, He bara them. Male and female, He bara them. What you're going to see here on that sixth day of creation is that God created something new again that wasn't there on the first 5 days of creation. We already had the elements, we already had the dirt, and we even had now, since day 5 came around, the ability to have life. But day 6, something new is brought into existence that wasn't there before. What was it? It was God breathing His Spirit into man personally. And so the reason I'm bringing this up for is I want you to see that, yes, your dog has a heart. So do you. You both have life. You both have what was created on day 5. But there's something unique in you that your dog does not have, or anything else that has heart and blood. And that is the Spirit of God living inside of you. That unique thing that was only for the humans. And this is why all of creation was made for man. God didn't create the world and think, there's something missing here. He created it for you, and to have dominion over all of those things. And so just note that there is a triune aspect to mankind. We are a body, we are a soul, and we are a spirit. And there is something unique in you that animals do not have. Even though we're both living creatures, God has put in our life, in that blood you might say, something unique, something different. And like I said, I believe it is that Spirit of God in us. And so why don't you take some time today to go visit those instructions and get to know this amazing Creator a little bit more. Well, I hope you enjoyed just a little sample of what your kids will be learning here in dissecting a heart of a sheep here today. I'm going to leave you with this. Do you know why heart surgeons make the best public speakers? Well, that's easy, because no one else can touch a heart like them. Well, have a blessed day. I hope you enjoyed it, and we invite you to take the entire course on anatomy. God bless you.